Debbie, yeah.
Hi.
Thanks, Gary and Debbie, for showing up.
We ready?
Morning.
Is it time?
We're gonna go ahead and shooting.
Whoa.
Hey, it's Cosmic.
He's up till after 4.
Welcome to the Cosmic Show.
Congratulations before we get a chance to say hello. Bye.
Make sure oxygen is on.
Hi, Darlene.
Hi, how are you?
Robin,
Doing well.
Robin,
Here we go. I'm nervous. Welcome to the Cosmic Show. We have everybody muted right now, and we are going to start this off with just a moment of silence before we do anything else. And we're going to do it like this. We're going to take a moment of silence, and I'd like to welcome you into Namaste Estates. Okay, really quick, I'm an addict named Joe. I'm Tom's sponsee, probably his newest one. And I would just first and foremost really like to thank the team working with me today, or I wouldn't, I'd be losing it right now. Super thank you to Wade Yu. I also want to introduce you to Eric N. If you need anything throughout this meeting, please reach out to one of us and we'll take care of you throughout this whole thing. And without any further ado, let's all make some noise for Tom C. celebrating 50 years clean and sober Narcotics Anonymous.
Hey, Tom. Thank you, Tom.
Yes.
Thank you, Tom.
The big 5-0.
Yes, sir. All right. So we're going to start this off. Again, this is Tom C's 50th anniversary Clean and Narcotics Anonymous. There's a lot of people here today, so we're just going to jump right into this, and we are going to bring our celebrant, Tom, and have him unmute. While Tom's sharing, we're going to flash some pictures and just enjoy the show.
am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Tom.
Because I already started off and broke into tears, so now I get another chance. Anyway, I'm Tom, Grateful Addict. Aloha and namaste.
Hi, Tom.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and making the effort to, the support is so appreciated. You know, without you guys, I wouldn't be here. But it's just so beautiful to have this kind of fellowship behind you. You know, I started this whole adventure off in the 60s, you know, out on the North Shore of Oahu. And what it was is a bunch of surfers looking for enlightenment, you know, riding waves and looking for enlightenment. And I was right in the middle of it all. And it was a beautiful time to be there. But the only problem was I kept using over and over and over again. No one ever told me, let the drugs, put them away and let this thing go. So I'm not going to be really saying too much. I'm about done already. I just want to hear everybody. And I'm just so blessed to have this happening and to be alive and clean, you know. Yeah, it baffles me 50 years. It really does. But I made it this for today. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Let's just listen to some beautiful shares from everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, I love you and super grateful for you. All right, our first guest speaker, maybe some of you could guess, is Tom M. from Hawaii.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tom, addict. Yep, I'm the other Tom, the two Toms in Hawaii. I'm not the spiritual one, Tom is, but I'm just as happy. Okay, I could talk easily an hour about Tom. Tom, I love you, man. Congratulations. I know you were worried and that you weren't going to make it, but you're going to be here for another 10 years at least. Don't worry about it. As Flowbird was saying, God's not finished with us yet. I'd like to tell you guys a little bit how I met him. I was just a young kid. He was my older brother's, Richie's friend, and I remember seeing Tom down on Malibu Beach. As we were all into surfing. I was a little gremlin, 11 years old, and I used to see Tom there it is in his Woody. He used to live in it and travel around, and and eventually he became friends with my brother. And then I think I was probably about 12 or 13, and he came over to my house, and I remember he was sitting there at the table with my brother, and they're like, and I'm this little short, because I was a small kid until I got to about 16 or 17, and he was sitting there with a glue rag in his mouth, sniffing glue, and I remember looking at him and thinking, man, that's cool, man, it's really cool, and we joke around saying, and so. And we were bonded ever since, but I would see Tom around, and he was kind of a free spirit, wild, and eventually as my addiction progressed and stuff, I was pretty much out in the streets, and he and one of our good friends, Bill Lackey, bought a house down there in Venice. Not bought a house, rented a house down in Venice, and it was a dope house. I mean, they were selling a lot of dope, LSD and stuff, and I somehow wiggled my way into their house, and I just never left. And they had a closet, not a super small closet, big enough to stretch out in, but that became my room, and I sat in there, doing LSD and speed and everything, and smoking dope, drawing pictures and everything, and everybody liked my pictures I drew. But I remember the house was, all the windows were covered in tin foil, and I don't know what the neighbors thought. But, here's this house in this nice neighborhood, and all these people coming in and out, and this, all the windows being filled with tinfoil. I remember there was a pinhole in the tinfoil where I think everybody used to peek out the pinhole to see if the cops are out there. But the sun would come through in a way and project like a screen, like a television screen on the wall of everything that was happening outside through this little pinhole. And we were just, we were like fascinated, it's like, Tom would, Tom's parents would send him to Hawaii, because his addiction was getting pretty bad, and they wanted to get him away from people like me. His parents didn't like the McCalls at all, my brothers, but yeah. So Tom would go to Hawaii, and I wouldn't see him for a while, and then he'd pop back in, and sort of at the end of my addiction, when right after I I got out of this Tascadero State Hospital, I had this house I was staying in on Rose Avenue in Venice, and Tom came by. He had just come back from Hawaii, and came by to see if I had any dope, and and we got to talking about about Hawaii, and he was telling me how great it was, and surfing and all these cool things, and he was talking a lot of spiritual stuff, which I didn't have any idea what the hell he was talking about, and because Tom was always kind of like into this whole spiritual thing, um, even when he was using, like, he actually at one point I remember we were all shooting methadone cut with strychnine, and taking barbiturates, and by the handfuls, and Tom would be preaching to us about how bad meat was for us, that we shouldn't be eating meat. It's really not good for us. And so Tom was a vegetarian. He was a trash can dope addict vegetarian. And of course he his credibility didn't really swing for us. It's like, yeah, okay, Tom, yeah, we should all stop eating meat because it's really bad for us, like, and but he was always trying to stop. He was always trying to stop using. It fix a big outfit of methadone and say, this is the last fucking time, man. This is the last time. I ain't doing this no more, man. I'm done with this shit, man. This is the last time. And we would just kind of look at him and laugh, and then the methadone hit him, and he'd go, wow, out there, and he go, I hate this shit. Then he'd swallow three barbiturates to come down real quick, so he could come down off it. And this was Tom's cycle of denial, just methadone and barbiturates and methadone and barbiturates. And but he, like I said, he went to Hawaii, came back. He looked good, then he came over to my house, and somehow in the course of talking to him, I got inspired about Hawaii. And I had just got out of that hospital. I had people that were looking for me because I had done something they were really pissed off about. And I was afraid someone was going to give me a hot dose, and take me out. And I was driving a truck for this plastic factory, and I got this thought, that I got to get out of here. There's got to be something better than this, and I'm going to go to Hawaii. And I went over to his house that night, to find out more about Hawaii. And I'll never forget that night I went over there because his dog bit me in the ass. I never have gotten over being afraid of German Shepherds. I'm walking his yard. He says, "Oh, don't worry. He won't touch you as long as I'm here." As soon as he walked in front of me, that dog just leaped on my ass. And we got inside, and he was telling me all about Hawaii, and he started showing me photographs. And in one of the photographs, there was this older woman. He says, if you get a chance, you should look this lady up. Her name is Flowbird. And like, she's really cool. She's she's an alcoholic. She's real spiritual, and all the hippies really like her. And in the back of my head, I thought, well, if things get too bad there, I can always look up this old alcoholic, and I just figured she's an old lush, one of those earth mamas, that hung around the hippies and stuff. And so Tom laughed at me when I said I was going to go to Hawaii, and he says, you can't even get out of Venice, man. You're not going to go to Hawaii. I said, no, I'm going to go, man. I'm going to go. And in a week's time, man, I had put together enough money to buy a one-way ticket, which was $70. And I had $40 in my pocket, and a bag, a piece of luggage, a sleeping bag, and my art supplies. And I left, and landed in Hawaii 11 o'clock at night, and somehow made my way out to the North Shore and slept on Sunset Beach. And as I'm sitting there on the beach that first morning, wondering what the fuck am I doing in Hawaii, man? What a stupid brainstorm this was. I'm in the middle of the ocean. I got no money. Only have a one-way ticket. And as I'm sitting there, there's nobody else on the beach, and this little car pulls up, and this woman gets out of the car. That's her, and she walks down to the ocean. She's just staring at the ocean, I'm like underneath these bushes, and I recognized her. That's that lady. And I walked down to her, and I somehow remembered her name. And I said, "Is your name Flowbird?" And she looked at me and she says, "Yeah, sweetheart." And I started talking about Tom and his dogs and shit. And she goes, "Yeah, how's Tom?" And then she just said, "Look, would you put your things in my car and come on back to the house with me?" And I did. And I got back to the house, and there was a guy named Doug Allman in the driveway, and this other girl named Madeline. And they were standing there and, kind of shaking their heads as we pulled up, because apparently Flowbird woke up that morning, and, when she was doing her meditation, she used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do her prayer meditation. And that morning she got this feeling, go to Sunset Beach, go now. And she woke up Doug and made him push start the car to get it started. And he argued with her, "Why don't you just go across the street to the beach?" And she says, "No, I have to go to Sunset Beach." And she pulled back into the driveway with me. And that was December 17th, 1968. And I never used again. Something happened to me. And there was something about her that was magical. There's absolutely no doubt about it. There was something about her that was magical. And she didn't, everybody didn't have the same reaction to her, but those who did, she was able to point out a path, of life, to us that was just amazing. So that's how Tom and I started off. But Tom couldn't get clean. He was in and out. He would come back to Hawaii, or we would go to Venice where he was living, and he'd get clean, and we'd start meetings at his house. I mean, it was always, we started meetings at his house. Tom wasn't even hard to clean. But when we leave, he'd go back to using again. And then, of course, a lot of you guys know his story, where all of a sudden one morning he hit his bottom with Josh under his arm, and a candle under the other arm. And knew it was over. And I was on Maui, and he went to the airport, somehow got on a flight, arrived in Maui, had no idea where I was, and got a ride into Lahaina. And car stopped to get out of the car, and there was my brother. And he goes, "Where's Tommy?" And he says, "Oh, follow me." And he brings us to this little house, and Tom walks in the door, and never forget the look on his face. He just had this look. He says, Tom, I'm ready. I'll do anything. And I said, "Yeah." Then, Tom, you know what to do then. I said, "You go back to Oahu. You need to start going to meetings. You need to dedicate yourself to this program." And Tom had a hard time with the meetings, and before then he just had a hard time going to meetings. Just couldn't stand the fact that I have to go to these fucking meetings, And but that was it. He had a spiritual awakening, and he turned the corner. And from then on, Tom has been Tom, man. He's been head on into this program. Everybody always mixes this up. The two Toms from Hawaii. Yeah, that's me. That's the other Tom. The two Toms from Hawaii. And every once in a while we get asked to speak. It's only been a couple of times we've been asked to speak together. The two Toms from Hawaii, and I'm surprised that the fellowship hasn't put us together more often, because we had such a good time, and the way our stories contrast with each other's, and yet meld together at the same time. I remember in Northern California, we were the Sunday morning speakers. Our Kimmy, got it set up for us. And Tom, he starts off, if you've all heard him, I'm sure, about his spiritual practices, being a vegetarian or vegan, and is doing yoga, and he's practicing the ways of Paramahansa Yogananda, self-realization, which he was taking those lessons when he was using. And and he has this meditation room. It's like a little sanctuary. You guys seen a picture of it earlier. And he has the singing bowls and the candles and the incense and all the masters of the Far East. And and he'd, and how he would meditate. And he'd listen to his breath and focus on his third eye. And it's pretty cool talk. If especially if you've never been aware of any of that kind of stuff. And so then my turn would come, to speak, and I'd say, yeah, Tom and I are a lot alike. We get up. I get up the first thing in the morning too, and I meditate, but I don't do it like him. I said I get a cup of coffee and a cigarette when I smoked, and I would sit there and I'd close my eyes and basically I'd just resist the urge to masturbate for the next hour, And of course, everybody at the convention came up to me after and said, "Yeah, I relate more to you than him," So, and then I would say, "But but I'm just as spiritual as he is, so I don't know what it's all about." But we would have fun like that. He's my best friend. He's my best friend, and he's also my sponsor. We said for years that we would never be able to sponsor each other because we were just too close. But it actually worked just the opposite. Because we were so close, he became the perfect sponsor for me. So I was going through the steps, and
he's a month younger at this point, so
okay, you got to be quiet back there. So when I was going to go through the steps, and in the sponsor I had, I just didn't feel like he was going to take me through the steps the way I really thought I should go through them. And the only person I knew who worked the steps from the very beginning, and when he was finished, he would start again. And which is a school of thought. There's two schools of thought for working the steps. One is you work the steps, you maybe several times. Okay, I see it 3 minutes. You work the steps several times, and and then you apply the principles and adapt them to your life, and which is pretty much what I do. And then there's the school of thought where, like Tom, where you start the steps and you're always working a step, but I decided I would go through the steps with Tom, and when we started going through the steps, I just at one point I realized, what? Why don't I just ask for to be my sponsor? And no one knows me better. He has been through everything with me. He's seen the worst of me, the best of me. Nobody knows me better, and it's the best thing I could have done, get him to be my sponsor. And and a lot of times, throughout the years, I'd be sharing some of the shit I was going through, and he'd just shake his head. I don't know what the fuck to tell you, man. I just don't know what to tell you. Just, just try to keep an open mind, yeah, he's a special man. Of course, you all know, what his contribution to the fellowship has been, as well as, in that whole meditation arena, writing his two books, so Tom, I love you a lot. It's a special day. Well, a special day a few days ago, but this is a special day today. Congratulations. I wish we could have had a big party, everybody all together, because you deserve it. And I know tons of people would have come. But we go along with life on life's terms right now with this pandemic. So anyways, thanks for being there for me always. And thanks for being really the guy who carried the message to me. Thank you.
Love you, Tom. Can we unmute everybody?
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
Tom.
Thanks,
Tom for sharing.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Mahalo.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, other Tom from Hawaii. Thank you.
Love you.
Congratulations to both Toms.
Thank you, Tom.
Next, I would love to have B. Would you come share? Hopefully everybody can see the pictures as well. Can we get B unmuted?
Yes, we can.
Okay, can you hear me?
Hi, B.
Hi, do you see me?
We do now.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, sweetie. Tom McCall, I was so moved by what you shared. Thank you so much. And I love my husband. He is everything he appears to be. He practices nonstop. He loves people. I've been with him, we're coming up on 36 years, and I've never heard him say negative things about anyone. He just loves everyone. So I just really want to thank Tom for staying clean, his family for all the support they give us. And yeah, Tom, I was really moved by what you shared, Tom McCall. Thank you so much. Tom is just the best person. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you, B. I'm loving the pictures as much as everyone else here, even though I've already seen them 100 times. Okay. Here, we're going to take a moment now, and we're going to allow people to start raising their hands if they want to share. We're going to keep the shares at about 4 to 5 minutes, and we'll flash a loving wrap it up 1 minute sign. But you can go ahead and start putting your hands up. And then we also have a few more guest speakers we're going to add in between here and there. But we'd love to start hearing from some people now. And Scott W., welcome.
Aloha. Happy birthday, Tom. I'm an addict. My name is Scott. I'm so grateful to be part of this. Tom, you're such a great example of, recovery, just life in general. You're just an incredible example. I lost a couple sponsors in the past to cancer, and I was looking for a sponsor, and I was looking at both Toms, and Tommy Catton was all smiles all the time, and I just love the way he rolls. I'm not like that, I'm a rebel to the core, and I got my issues, but Tom Catton is a great example for me, and that's what I need. And Tom McCall, I love your share too, and I love you too, and you know that. But Tom, 50 years in a row, freaking absolutely amazing. And I love Narcotics Anonymous, saved my life. And I'm really honored, deeply honored to be part of this circle and this bloodline. So thank you so much for my life, Narcotics Anonymous, Tom Catton, and everybody that's in earshot. Aloha. Thank you very much. I love you.
Thank you, Scott. We love you. Next we have Dan B.
Hey, addict named Dan. I love you, Tom. Happy 50 years. I call you Kahuna Rinpoche, an unsolicited nickname. In 2008, my serenity went up and Tom's went down when he agreed to sponsor me. And I got clean. I was in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, and Tom came to my life through Providence. And I had a year clean. I'd worked the steps. And I was ready to kill my first sponsor, so I think God led me to Tom. But I remember when I first called him, he asked me, he said, "What is your meditation practice like, and how are you of service?" And he didn't say, "Are you meditating? Are you of service?" And I think that's when I kind of, then he let me in. But, I guess just knowing Tom and him really showing me, telling me, explained to me his experience of how to really work spiritual principles and take it off the page, and take it out into the world. And, Tom has been with me through a lot, man. When I had 6 years clean, my forgotten bipolar thing reared back. He was with me through that. And 2 years later, I relapsed at 8 years clean. I remember I called Tom pretty soon. I was driving to COP, and they say you should call your sponsor before you do this. But, he starts crying, I'm crying, and he said, I'm never going to give up on you. And, there are times I felt like I've given up on Tom, but he's assured me that I haven't. But just those kind of things, man, are beyond the program, and even, for me, and just his encouragement of my spirituality. And I got to share this real quick. In 2009, I met Tom for the first time. It was like B and Gary and Debbie. A couple of us met at this Thich Nhat Hanh retreat in Colorado, and Thich Nhat Hanh doesn't show up. And I'm like, how's my sponsor going to handle this? And we go to the front desk, and Tom's like, look it, man, I paid $900. Where's he at? And I thought, what a relief. He walks among us. And I want to say this real quick. I was there 10 years ago, and I met everybody and the family. And and B's been my sponsor. I'll call Tom, and they're always watching some like the worst horror movies on the planet, I acknowledge. And so I want to say, like, B has been as much as part of my experience. But 10 years ago, I went to this thing, all these people around the world, I'm freaking out. Everyone's like talking about God and all this crazy shit. And I just, I remember Celeste had a real powerful share about the family sharing Tom, with us. And I just want to thank, B, Celeste, Josh, all, their family. And I remember being there and witnessing that love. I grew up in the zipper of the Bible Belt. I've seen enough jive, bullshit, family get-togethers. But the love there was so evident, with the it was so evident. No one was putting on a show. And that's what Tom's taught me the most. It's real easy to be spiritual at Walmart, well, most of the time. But it's the people that I love the most that I fucking hurt the most. And Tom has shown me that's where it really matters. With for me, Tom has shown me how to love in a healthier, better, and pure way. So anyway, I was hoping to cry because I'm such a callous bastard, but I didn't. But Tom, I love you. God bless.
Thank you, Dan. And there's plenty of time left for all of us to cry. So love you. Next, we have Ronnie.
Aloha, everybody. I'm a Ronnie addict. And I just want to say congratulations, Tom. And thank you for coming into my life. I'll tell a little story about Tom and I had moved to the Big Island in 2018 on May 9th. And on May 6th or 5th, I think it was, the eruption started. And it was quite the deal. I was living out of a suitcase. I was down in Calcutta. He's in Pahoa, and I'm down farther south. And there were no meetings. Everybody had shut down. There were a few meetings in Hilo, and my wife had to go back, and I started to isolate. And at this time, I had 13 years clean. I'd been through 2 liver transplants. I'd stayed clean the whole time. I went from my hometown to Seattle, and I got right involved because I knew if I was in service in Seattle, and the reason I got so into service in Seattle was I was able to be of service when I was in what we call the Tri-Cities in Washington. And I was a merchandising chair for our Summer Sizzler conventions. And so I would go to all the other towns. And so I had a really strong recovery going. And I got here and I started to isolate, and I started to pick up hitchhikers and things like that. Long story short, I ended up using, they call it Pakalolo pot again. And the terrible thing is I didn't come clean. I started lying and deceiving again. And it started to get closer to the house and things like that. And then I was starting to use when my wife was home. And those are things I never planned on doing, but my addiction had caught me again. And even though it was a lighter, lesser drug than my drug before, I got caught. I confessed. I didn't know what was going to happen, but my wife's in program, and she said 2 things. It's more than 2 things. She says, what are you going to do about it? And right then I was in denial, and I was doing all of this rationalization, justification, everything I'd been through, all the pain I've been in, everything, and how it was helping me. And I didn't do it the right way. I didn't get a prescription. I didn't do certain things. And she knew that, and she could see my addiction better than I could. And I said, I'm going to go to a meeting. And my first meeting I went to, a guy gave me a number to a treatment center on the Big Island. And I did that. And my second meeting, I told my story. And this old gentleman comes up to me and he says, I think I'm meant to be your sponsor. And sure enough, that was Tom. He's heard my story, felt my story. I was waiting for people to stop talking to one another so that I could approach someone. And Tom was the person I was interested in. And he came and found me. And to this day, I have never felt more loved and appreciated for the amount of time and work that I do put into my program and my service that I'm doing and everything, because he's just Tom. He doesn't expect anything. He just asks you, how's your prayer and meditation going? And he'll ask you to be a sponsee if the time is right and he feels that. And I feel like, I know I'm the luckiest man in the world. My wife is a kind, loving soul and put up with my relapse after 13 years. But I also, I was in a new place. I was in a bad place and I knew where to go. And I want to tell everybody for showing up and celebrating Tom and myself and all of us, because we are all worth it. And I guess I'm just rambling now, and I want to thank B for sharing Tom. And I too have been to the house, and it is very, very spiritual. And I've met his daughter, and they do share their father. And it's hard not to, there's a lot of love there, and it's very attractive once you get there and once you know Tom. Okay, again, thank you, Tom, and I love you, and I hope, like Tom earlier said, I think you got 20 more years, so anyway, much love. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I just gave him 10.
Okay, Larry.
All right. Oh my gosh. Well, first off, congratulations, Tom. That's great. I don't know. I owe a lot to both Toms. When I wandered into my very first meeting in Virginia Beach, Virginia, just before Christmas, 1975. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Flowbird and all the birds were there, and I assume was gathered up amongst them, and I haven't looked back since. But Tom in particular, I don't know, we had a special relationship really just from the very beginning. I had no idea what was going on, and he just was so welcoming and embracing, and that I don't know, it just really meant a lot. We've shared a lot of adventures in the 45 years since then, both Tom's and I, but from being birds with Flowbird, of her passing away, of the aftermath of that, coming to Hawaii. I ended up in Hawaii because Tom kept encouraging me, said, I have a house. I'm house sitting in Lanikai. I've got work painting. Come and join me and help me paint. And so I did. And we worked together for a lot of years. And I've been in Hawaii ever since. And I've known Celeste and Josh since they were little kids, you know. We've taken partial cross-country trips together in my 59 Volkswagen van, and a lot of really good, sweet adventures, you know. And so anyway, I mean, it's really like, for me, almost a lifetime of friendship with Tom, you know, and like Tom McCall sort of intimated, there was sometimes a lot of head scratching going on at some of the things that Tom would get into, or, you know, his stints of walking barefoot in the snow, not needing shoes, and his periods of long abstinence, sexual abstinence, because he wanted to be a monk. And he did everything with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of love. And a lot of us around him just sort of scratched our heads. What's he up to now? But he was always coming from such a loving, all-embracing, open, spiritual place. Even if maybe a lot of us didn't know really how to channel it at different times. So I'm really grateful to him. I was really, there was a period where Tommy McCall and Tom and I all lived on Oahu for quite some time. And you know, Tommy moved to Kauai, then Tom moved to the Big Island. And boy, I really became aware of just how much a presence that those guys gave to my life and support, you know, and how much I had really depended on them, you know, for the love that they gave me and support through all the years, through all of my craziness, you know. So I really am very appreciative of that. And, you know, we all had our adventure in New Mexico, building a NA community and building our own houses and living off the land. So there's lots of stories to tell, but I won't get into all of them. But it's really good to see Cherie on here also. I really, really so good to see you, Cherie. And Cherie is Flobert's oldest daughter. And Flo, I hope Marshawn is on here, who is Flobert's youngest daughter. I don't see her yet, but Marshawn was my entryway into the program, because actually Marshawn and I were high school sweethearts, and so to speak, and used together. And so I have a long, long history with Flobert and the Toms, and it's really sweet. Miracles do happen. All right, thanks. Thanks, guys. Thanks, bye.
Thank you, Larry. Love you. Is Marshawn here? Marshawn Green?
Where is she?
She is. She's
I believe
someplace.
she's here. Can you unmute? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. I don't see me. I don't know where I went. I was here on the side, but I'm gone now.
We can see, Mom.
We see you.
Hi, Damon. Hello. I wonder where I am. Where did I go?
You're talking, so you don't see you. Just talk.
I see you.
Cherie.
Here's Josh. Hi. Hi. Well, am I supposed to talk now?
Yes.
We would love that.
Okay, I'm glad. Well, maybe it's good you can't see me. I'm Marshawn. I'm an alcoholic. Very grateful to be here. And it's just, dang it. It's really good to see everybody. since I haven't been going to meetings or doing anything, but I am here in spirit, and you don't make old new friends. You know, as Larry said, yeah, we've known each other since I was 13 and he was 14 or 15. Anyway, so long history here. Tommy, so good to see you too. And Tom, I don't know what to say. You're right down the street. We see each other every now and then, and our dogs bark at each other. And I'm so grateful that you got clean and sober. I think we were in, I was thinking we were in Greece, but we weren't in Greece when we found out that you had been traveling over looking for us in Europe. And we were all so excited. We knew it took. We knew that it took at that time, and that you were going to stay for a long time. It's just like there's just way too much. There's, I know Tom and I've yelled at each other and cried and fought and laughed and all of those good things that happen. And we were there for really traumatic parts in our life that I'm so grateful for all of this fellowship that we had, you know, for friends, for heartwarming realness of each other, and just being human, all of us just being human beings. And you know, Tom came over once when, I mean, he and B were both here when my husband was ready to pass away, and played bowls for him. And Mark wasn't very spiritual, or I mean, he wasn't very, you know, he was just real. Anyway, so, you know, we've just been there for each other. And flooding in the middle of the night, you know, 2 o'clock in the mornings, and, you know, things like that. Anyway, Tom, I'm gonna not go anymore because there's a lot of people here that love you, and I love you, and B, I love you, and Celeste and the whole family. And I just feel like we're all a family. So everybody gets to talk, and I love you, and thank you so much for being here and letting me speak.
Thank you so much. Eddie W.
Aloha family. Eddie, I'm one of Tom's sponsees. You know, I met Tom. I was being of service for one of the world conventions. I was on the committee to pick a speaker, and I heard Tom's tape and just like raved that, oh my God, this is our Sunday morning speaker. And that was the beginning of my relationship with Tom. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of sponsee brothers here. There's a lot of you here whose lives have been touched by Tom. And first of all, Tom, congratulations on 50. Thank you for lighting the path. And I don't know, the way I feel today is that if I stay clean and I'm of service to Narcotics Anonymous until I take my last breath, I will never be able to repay the gifts that I have gotten from working with you for the last 18 years. You're one of the longest relationships I've ever had in my life, and I'm just truly grateful. And you know, thanks Josh and Celeste and B for sharing Tom with me and accepting me into your family. you know, we can't pick our families when we're born. But if I could have picked a great family to be a part of, this is my favorite of all of them. So thanks for letting me be a part of your lives. Thanks for guiding me in my recovery, Tom. And
What? I don't know.
love you dearly. And
I'm looking. I don't think so. This would be the section.
Please mute.
here's to another big birthday. We'll be with you the whole time. So thanks again for everything, and glad to be here with all you wonderful people. Aloha.
Thank you, Eddie. Much love. Bob W.
I'm an addict. My name's Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Tom, happy anniversary. Tom C. Swami Tommy. Yes, I came into NA in a really magical time in Hawaii. NA was on fire, especially on the windward side. And there were actually 3 pillars of NA. It was Tom C., Tom M., and Larry. And I kind of knew later that if I would have picked any one of them, it would have been the right path. But I ended up taking Tom, and basically because, I don't know if you guys saw the picture of him with the big beard and the hair, but that's what he looked like when I met him. And, you know, I was looking for a sponsor, and he kind of looked like something between Jesus and Moses or something like that. And I asked him if he would sponsor me. And his response kind of threw me off. He said, I will, but God told me in my meditation to go to India. And when I come back, I will sponsor you. That's right, Tommy. So I thought the guy was nuts. And it took me a couple more decades to realize he really was nuts. But the second thought in my head was, that is pretty powerful, that someone would show up and sit there and invite a higher power in and take guidance. And for some reason, that was so attractive to me, that was such a beautiful entry into this program. And I knew that this is my Bhagwan, this was going to be my guru, this is going to be my sponsor. And he did make it back to Hawaii after India. He almost died of dysentery there, but he did make it back. And he ended up finding a Narcotics Anonymous meeting in this big, crowded, filthiest place on the planet. And the reason I know that is some years later, I ended up following Tom to India with him. So Tom McCall is kind of like the big Bhagwan of Japan, and Tom C was the big guy of India, and Larry was the big APF guy. So you really, really guided me to realize that there was only one race in Narcotics Anonymous, and that was the human race. And this was a huge worldwide fellowship. And Tom, man, I really thank you for all the step work we went through and we're still going through. I really follow Tom's philosophy. From the day I got clean till today, I still show up and do my practice, and that I owe to Tom. He actually bought me my very first meditation lessons in SRF, and I went down that path, and then I found my way to what I practice today. But I would no sooner leave my house without my clothes on than leave my house without sitting and showing up. And I owe Tom for that. And we've had some incredible adventures. I mean, the SRF retreats, the Kevin Griffin retreats. I followed Tom to Thailand to the very first NA convention there, and then off to India. And that really, really was a magical moment, you know, and I've had many more. I don't really feel like Tom's sponsee so much as his son. And and the good thing is B's my mom. So I really got that double whammy there. I got B and Tom, and I just always felt so much love coming from that direction. really helped my life. And one of the greatest things about having a sponsor, but for me having Tom, is he's walked me through some of the most difficult times in my life. October 2nd, I got clean. And 3 days after that is the anniversary of me watching my mortal enemy, who turned out to be my best friend, my father, die. And of course, my brother Ed died 29 years ago on Halloween. And Tom and B got to meet my brother Ed. He was pretty instrumental in my story. It's not about me today, but you know, one other thing, that very sad thing that happened that Tom walked me through, is I lost a pet, my very first pet. You know, there's a reason dog spelled backwards is God. And I lost my dog in October. And just recently, 3 days before my clean date, I lost my little brother. So Tom has helped me walk through some really difficult times, mental illness, all kinds of stuff that I acknowledge that I could never, ever repay, you know. And I love you, Tom. And I really know that because of that day in Kailua, when I connected with you, I didn't really realize that the projection of my life would be altered the way it has been. And I live a very good life today, and I owe that to you. And I hope to continue with the set of steps we're on right now, because it's really important to me. I'm much closer to the end of my story than the beginning. But I don't know if I tell you this often enough, but I really love you, Mr. Tom C. You're really a huge part of my life and a huge part of who I am today. And I just love you dearly. Namaste.
Thank you, Bob. Love you. Next, we'd like to ask Josh Catton if you would say a few words.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm an addict. Bob, good to hear from you, Bob W, and see you. I didn't know we were brothers. I guess my dad adopted you. You're my long lost brother. You must be the oldest that I never got to meet. But anyways, Dad, congratulations. You know, he's my dad, so it's a little different relationship. But you know, hey, he's really that spiritual, guys. He does walk on water and do all that stuff. So anyways, no, he is an amazing person and a father that has led me to, you know, not through his words, but through his actions. When I watch him through the years, the way he has been of service to people, it's taught me so much that, see, I get emotional too. It's in the family. But it's just one of those things that, like, without watching him be who he is, I think he's made me a better man. And he's not always in the moment. I'll tell you that. He's not. It's hilarious because this is kind of a funny story. It's not funny, but when Tom McCall got he got COVID, and my dad called me and he said, Tom McCall's not going to make it through this. He's going to die. And I said, Dad, just wait a minute. Let's just take this one step at a time, and he's going to be okay, I think. But I mean, you know, we laugh about it now, but Tom McCall, I'm glad you made it through that. It's really good to see everybody. Love you, Dad. I always get emotional on these things. Thanks for letting me share.
Love you, Josh. Thank you. Celeste.
Oh, great. I started crying when Josh was crying.
More.
Anyway, I'm going to try, because when I cry, I've been crying a lot so far. So hopefully I've shed the tears, because everybody who's, you all are so meaningful to me and have been a part of my childhood. Larry, such good memories of being in that van. And yeah, when we were driving away, we hitchhiked. I don't know, we were just these little kids hitchhiking with these hippies in like the South. It wasn't good in the 70s to be like a hippie in the South. And I just, I had this interesting childhood. And when I go back in a perspective of maybe from like a psychological perspective, like if I were to name things that were going on, like if I were to hear that from one of my students today, like I would think things were kind of fucked up, but really what happened was I got to be witness to people living like in a way that that was in the, like it was in the moment, like you're trying to just be present and show us a way. I don't know. Anyway, this isn't how I wanted to start this, but it was a weird childhood. I'm just gonna tell you that. And it was there was a lot of amazing things that occurred because of that, and it made me, like Josh said, into the people we are. And I can be taken back easily into memories when I think of being a kid with Dad and going to meetings, and the highlight of our Friday night, or to go to like the Beachcombers on Thursday night and be piled in the back of a truck and getting to the meetings where like I would just want the sugar cubes, and I would hear like all this heartbreak and happiness and like just being exposed. I guess there wasn't a lot of like filters, and we got exposed to a lot of just stories of you guys, growing up. And there was in my, as a kid, like I was excited. I heard these people talking about prostitution and like shooting up and fucking like fuck and shit and saying the bad words, and I like, man, I have a sailor's mouth probably from that. But but anyway, I always knew where to go when I had a hard time, when I was faced with like the pains of life, and it was to my dad, and I have 32 years clean and sober myself, right 1 month after my 21st birthday, I got clean and sober. And so I knew right where to go, and you guys, the program and the fellowship were so welcoming, and yet I was in a shadow of some sort. Like I didn't know who I was, you try to figure out who yourself is. And I even like in college, in speech class, like one of the speeches, I like, this is, I don't like public speaking, and I had to speak at speech class at UH Manoa. And you know what I did? I told my dad's story as if I was him. You had to like, that was the exercise. You had to speak in the first person. And so the only thing I felt comfortable was, and I got like an A+. It was awesome. But anyway, it's like, Dad, you've just been a huge, obviously like such a huge part of my life. We talk like every day, and I have like hilarious voicemails, and I love you so much. You're always my, like really my hero. Because of you, I loved people with long beards as a kid. Most kids like were scared of people with beards, like they were scary, but I always thought that is a loving person. Like, because my dad had a beard, or I just had these things about you, and like you'd send me these letters because I was away from you during the school year, and they were on purple notebook paper with like the birds and the everything. Always, your letters were very hard to read. Your writing is awful, but the letters always ended with "God is loving us now," and like so forever. That's just embedded in me, man. I just, that's always there. You know, you've embedded that. And thank you for being my dad. It's just like an honor and a privilege, man. I just love you so much, Daddy-o. I love that I live like I can walk like just like literally a couple hundred feet and I'm in your fancy yard. And I love that. I love spending time with you and taking you to hyperbaric chamber and all the things we do together. And I take you to my pool for a swim. Anyway, love you, Dad. Thanks for like showing me. That's it.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you so much. Did Cynthia want to say a couple words?
You want to say a few words?
Oh, hi, I'm Cynthia. I'm Tom's younger sister. And of course, I knew Tom before he was an addict.
I don't think he's born that way.
No, I wanted to show you a picture of my brother. Can you see that?
When he was a little boy?
Yeah, a little boy with our dog. So we had a fun time as little kids. Then there was a time in high school when he went off the edge and it was like I didn't have a brother anymore. But you got me started, Celeste. But thankfully later in life we reconnected and took care of our parents. And now we're close and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Josh. Really quick, we saw another Tom C's hand earlier. I didn't know if he was still here or still wanted to share.
Yeah, sure.
From Sydney.
Yeah. Thanks, JoJo. Hi everyone. I'm Tom. I'm an addict. Wow, that's a to be asked to share here. I didn't expect it, but yeah, it's funny. I shared with a couple of people who are on Derek D and on here just a moment ago about being on here and talked about the addict. This addict sort of came into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous back in, well, December 18, 2006. And, highly self-centered addict, just caught in the throes of everything. I sort of fell into recovery, not by my wanting, that's for sure, but I fell in and there's a lot of men around being very, very loving, which I wasn't quite sure about. And one of them handed me a share CD, a CD with a share on it. And it said, Tom C on it. I went, oh, well, that's all about me, It's all about me. So anyway, I listened to this share tape and I just went, wow, I've just identified with it because I was, particularly that the story about Flowbird and I just everything about the share it sunk into me. I didn't know whether I was going to stay clean. I didn't know what was going on. I know that I just had been cracked open, and Tom, your share was so strong, so powerful, and the message was so clear for me that I started to crack even further, and the idea to actually sit and meditate for me it was attractive. There was something attractive about it. Something I kind of needed to do it, obviously, because I was just so insane. I couldn't stop thinking. I was just crazy, and but it was the first place and the first time in my life where I could actually see that I was sitting in this fellowship in a room in a meeting where everyone was quiet and one person was talking. So something was going on. It was really, really, really special. But then to get the share through this CD, this technology, from someone from Hawaii, you know, some place where I've been just loved surfing. I surfed there since I was 16 years of age. I was 44 at this time. And all of a sudden, there's this story that someone was talking about somewhere, something that was so important. And it rang true, every word. It was so attractive. And so from that point, you know, I gave myself to a meditation practice on a daily basis, and you know, I started working the steps, and with my sponsor, I started doing all those things. And the one thing he talked about, Tom, you talked about, was the spiritual principle of equanimity. And for me, coming from the place where I came from, I knew that I was going away from that love that was coming through your share, that coming towards the equanimity that was in the rooms, that I could feel, that that was shining through. That I'm forever grateful, Tom. I teach meditation now. I can't believe I do that. It's the last thing I think I ever teach, but it's coming through me. And that's what you taught me to do, was literally sit and allow God to come in. Put myself off to the side and allow God in. So thank you very much, Tom, for that. And everyone here, I can feel the love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Love you. John T.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm an addict named John. And Tom, I love you very much. And I'm just really grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to hear everybody and everything everyone's sharing. I'm grateful to have another day alive and clean. And I'm a few generations down from some of you all, but I really value the opportunity to hear all the stories and all the reflections and see faces that fit in with names that I've heard about for a really long time. And I just wanted to share a quick story. I think I've told Tom this story about 50 times, but I'll go ahead and just share it real quick anyway. And, you know, I first met Tom through the literature. It was the summer of 1999. I was sitting in a rehab in St. Paul, Minnesota, chain smoking and bored on a really long weekend with no programming. And so I picked up the basic text and I started reading. And, you know, I mean, I was reading the stories, and the stories were like, okay. And then I came across this story from Tom, and, you know, like, I was a punk rock kid. So I was like, yeah, this hippie shit, I'm not quite cool with that. But like, I really like this idea that I could potentially, like, being clean could actually mean adventure, and adventure as in like traveling the world, and adventure as in like the spiritual adventure. Cause I'd always like had this attraction towards spiritual stuff. You know, I was collecting the Buddha statues out of the thrift store and what have you, but like, I never could get my life together. And I was always attracted to traveling and moving around the globe. And then this other little piece, like the magic, right? Like the magic that, like, getting out of the way, that like the universe will unfold in a way that sort of conspires with you to take you to places that you never knew would happen. And that was all really appealing to me, because at the end of the road for me, you know, the furthest I could get was about 12 miles away, which was where I would drive to the methadone clinic, praying this piece of shit little Dodge Dart that had the bungee cord, you know, door shut, and the hood was popped and would flap along the freeway. And I'd always be thinking, like, do I have enough money in the gas tank to get me there? And so, like, fast forward a few years, you know, and it's 3 years later, and I'm living in Malaysia, and I end up in this convention in Bali. And I'm sharing at some meetings beforehand, and they said, hey, we'd really like you to share on Saturday night. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'd love to do that. And they said, yeah, but you're going to share with somebody else. I'm like, oh, well, you know, that's cool. I think my ego was a little bit like, well, I thought it would be all about me, but okay. And they're like, yeah, it's this guy, Tom C. from Hawaii. And I just was like, are you kidding me? And so I met Tom in Bali on this adventure that had happened with conspiring with the universe in ways that I could have never planned or plotted out. And at that same convention, I ended up meeting my sponsors, this guy named Bob W., who was sharing about H&I, and I just had really clear as a bell in my head. I thought, that's my next sponsor. But I didn't know that Bob was tied with Tom. And I went and I met Bob in his hotel room, and he had a little like Ganesh statue. And I was like, okay, this is the direction I'm going in my process. And we started working together. And then I found out after the fact that Tom was his sponsor. And it was just like the beginning of a whole lot of these miracles and things that happen along the way. And, you know, fast forward a few years later, Tom's speaking at a convention in Wisconsin, and I don't really want to go. I don't have any money. And I end up going and driving there like at the last minute to hear him speak. I end up sleeping on a room of this hotel of somebody else. And but I had this book called 12 Steps in Buddhism by this guy named Kevin Griffin. And I said, I need you to take this back to my sponsor in Hawaii. Right. And I gave that book to him on the Saturday night. And the next morning he woke up and he said, yeah, you're going to have to send Bob that book because I'm taking this book. And apparently he'd been up reading it all night. And then that led to just a whole lot of other adventures, being able to come to Hawaii and to go on some retreats with Tom, and then just a lot of adventures. And the COVID adventure has been, we do a Zoom meeting. And so we've been staying connected once a month, a group of us in the sponsee family, and just really grateful. You know, I was sharing at a meeting just the other night that, you know, I got clean because I wanted to stop putting stuff in my arm and my mouth, smoking stuff. I wanted to stop doing all that. I wanted to stop the pain. I had no idea that like I would be entering a process that would help me learn how to live, and learn how to live, not just, I mean, quite literally learn how to live all the way up towards the last chapters and last phases of life. I just had no idea that that's what I had entered into. And I'm just forever grateful to watch so many of you, and just to see people as they come closer to this phase of the end of this phase of the journey, and to learn from you, and to see the softness of the heart that opens up with people when they stay in the process. Not that I'm wishing anyone to go away soon, so please don't take that away from it, but it's just a beautiful thing to see everybody walking through this full adventure. I love you very, very much, Tom. And you too, Bob.
Thank you, John. Gordon C5s.
Thank you, JoJo. My name's Gordon. I'm an addict. Tom, you know I love you dearly. My experience with all this started at the World Service Conference in the mid-90s, where I made friends with Larry. And I still had really long hair and mustache and all that myself at that point. And through Larry, I met the Toms. And I feel a bond to Tom from the first time I knew him. You know, the stories and a lot of things they shared are similar. My first actual trip to Hawaii, I live there now. My first trip was, I was 16 years old. I was there the same week that Tom McCall just shared about getting clean. Never met him, of course. I was interested in selling LSD, not getting clean. And took me years to get clean after that. October is a good year for getting clean. I got clean in October 3rd, 1987. But like he shared about Tom, you know, even though I was shooting dope, you know, I was reading books of, you know, spiritual paths and stuff, trying to, I don't know, I was seeking something. I didn't know what I was seeking. And when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, my first exposure with Tom was reading his story when I had 2 weeks clean. And it brought back the memories of Hawaii, and it brought back memories of that spiritual church. And that very day I read in the third step where it talked about that I could have any spiritual belief that I wanted. And it opened the door for me to continue the exploration I've been doing all those years. And it was a struggle. It was a path through the steps and stuff to get there. But, you know, the longer I stayed clean, you know, the people that know me, you know, I got 34 years clean. I got 30 years off of caffeine, my longest running drug. I've got 22 years off of sugar. And I've been a vegetarian since 2003. All of those were not things that I decided I wanted to do or expected to do, just like getting clean in the beginning. They all came through the pursuit of spiritual principles and spiritual knowledge, there just came a point in my life where I knew I had to stop those things. And for years, I tell Tom every time I see him, I love him so much because sometimes I feel he's the only person that talks my language. You know, I'll share in a meeting here in Hawaii and when we were meeting in person, and I would say, you know, share something based on what I was going through and struggling, you know, on my pursuit of being the person that I want to be. And I would feel like the only person that would understand the language I was using and what I was trying to get at would be Tom C. And I would call him and tell him that over and over again. And I savor the moments that I've got to spend with him. And I've stayed at the house when I was over there for a service. And everywhere I looked were all these things that I value also in my spiritual path. And Tom, I just love you so much. I won't hold any more time, but I am so glad that I've been able to experience you in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Love you. Cherie.
Okay, hi there, everyone. Cherie Johnson. I'm an alcoholic, and it's so wonderful to be here. So many memories. Oh my God, you know, OMG. Larry, God, I just, every time somebody talks, I cry. I was thinking, Tom, of course, I've known them before their sobriety, their cleanness or whatever, clean and sober. And the adventures that we've gone through. I mean, I painted with them, you know, in Virginia Beach and Tom, well, it was Tom and Tom. And Tom and I used to, I mean, we argued more often than not. I mean, Tom, you just, you know, I can't remember. I think he threw a washcloth at me one time because he was so angry. Or maybe I threw it at him. But anyway, you know, it's been said, we laughed, we cried, you know, we've been angry at each other. We've walked through all kinds of stuff. And it's a joy, you know, 50 years. Oh my God. Yeah, looking at these pictures, Virginia Beach, I think it was in 73 or somewhere. But I was on 72nd Street. I remember that. And I look at these pictures and I think, oh my God, what a motley crew we were, you know? It's just absolutely amazing that most of it, I think everybody is still around. But I think, you know, 50 years ago, who would have known? And you've touched so many lives, Tom, with your experiences and the way you share them. You know, each one reaches one. And the way you share reaches so many people. It's absolutely amazing. You know, I think about New Mexico, there's so many memories, as Marshawn says, you know, and I don't see you often because I don't get to Hawaii, but every couple of years when I see Marshawn, and even when I get there, I don't see you all the time, but I love you, Guy. And it's so awesome to be here for your anniversary. And Tom McCall, it was really nice to see you. I haven't seen you in ages either. So Shaylin, I'm sure if you're still on here, I'm sure you're going to say something, and it was good to see you. Love you all. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Cherie. Next, we have Nancy.
Hi, everybody. I'm a happy, grateful addict and alcoholic. My name's Nancy. And thank you to all the people that put this together, because it's just wonderful. And happy birthday, Tom. I love you so much. And hi, B. I was thinking about what story to share. I met Tom in 1980 when I came in and got clean, and living on Oahu. And so many happy memories of running together, training for marathons and races. And that was a time when we really got to hear your wisdom, Tom, and just you'd riff while we were running along there. And those are very precious memories to me. And when you came and visited us in Israel. That was a really pivotal time. We were living in Israel and something had happened. You had begun dating B, but something happened and you were just heartbroken thinking that it wasn't going to happen and that you weren't going to be with B. And it was completely intolerable to you. You could barely function. All you could talk about was what were the possibilities of what you could do to win her heart and to get it back together. I don't remember what the breach was or why there was a breach, because I honestly feel like you guys, from the moment you started, you were together, but something. And you were around Seth, and I feel like there was some kind of healing that happened on that trip. I know it was a wonderful trip for us to have you with us. But something happened and you went back and the miracle happened and you got together and you've been together and it's all worked out and been just a total blessing. And I just was thinking about that. The other thing I was thinking about is how you always walked around without your shirt on, and Seth would see that, and he ended up spending a whole summer. He told me, I want to live in the jungle like Tom. And he'd sleep out in the backyard in a tent for the whole summer with no shirt. We couldn't get him to put a shirt on after that. But he does that now. He's 40, so he wears a shirt again. But I don't know. There's so many wonderful, sweet memories, and you're such an incredible inspiration. I know I'm just repeating what everyone else has said, but I had to get on and say thank you for being in my life. And when we had the Beachcombers at our house, that was a really special time. And hearing yours and, of course, Tom McCall's stories. I mean, you guys are my spiritual teachers, and I would not have anything that I have if it wasn't for you. And I'll be there soon, moving back to Oahu November 10th. Woohoo! All right, guys. Love you all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Terry.
Aloha, everyone. I'd like to, as you can see, I have a Reed's ginger beer. So I'd like to offer a toast to Tom and congratulations for the service that you've done over the years. At a meeting the other night, I said that Tom is a 21st century bodhisattva. And I believe that. He carries the message of strength and hope for the still sick and suffering. Namaste, Tom. Tom and I have a lot in common. We're both consultants for NA. In other words, we're sponsors. That's a very important service for anybody that has any amount of clean time, to carry the message and share the hope that recovery offers to people. I was stationed, just another thing we have in common. I was stationed at Hickam over on Oahu in the Air Force when Tom was over there in the early 70s. We never met. Within a year of me getting there, I developed an intravenous drug addiction for heroin. And it wasn't until 1987 when I got my first, it was in a literature raffle. I got my first text, I think it was the 3rd edition, that I read his story. And it was my intention to always go back to Hawaii. So him and I both made it back here. That's another thing we got in common. You know, there's serendipitous things that happen in life for a reason. Since I've been here, I've been going to Tom's meditation meetings at his home. They're beautiful meetings. An old friend of mine stayed at his Airbnb a couple years ago, just before the pandemic. Tom got me involved in some service where I was helping a guy with Lou Gehrig's disease. Of course, going out to the house one night, because I was helping his wife. I'd stay overnight. Me and two other guys were doing that. On the way out there, I hit a pig. I was driving a motor scooter and I hit a pig. But that was a spiritual experience for me. Because in the nanosecond before I hit the pig, I turned my will and my life over to the care of my higher power. That was a very transformative spiritual experience for me. I'm really glad to say that Tom's my friend and my neighbor. I love you, Tom. And I love everybody that's participating in this, the people that put it on. Namaste.
Thank you, Terry. Tim M.
Hey everyone, aloha. Amazing to be on the meeting. Tim, recovering addict. Driving over to surf in Bali. Shaylin tuned me into the meeting for Tom, and had to get up at 4 a.m, which is absolutely a worthy thing to do. But look, I just wanted to quickly say, I got clean in Sydney in Australia, and a good friend of mine, passed away now, tricked me into going to Hawaii, Camp Erdman, in, I think, 87. I was a year clean. And this amazing journey began, and I met the two Toms, and there was another beautiful man called Doug Allman, who I stayed with in Kailua. And I met all these guys and the girls, B as well, and got introduced to this huge fellowship in Hawaii and globally. And it was a turning point for me in my life, in my recovery, that there was amazing people and spirituality, and it's just like, and I've stayed ever since. And 36 years later, I live in Bali. Recovery's a trip, man. It's just amazing. I get to come on and celebrate like 50 years clean. Are you serious? Like, come on, man. Like, I think most of the kids here in Bali aren't even 50 years old. It's like, it's like, we're kind of like dinosaurs. But anyway, it's a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, Tom, man. You came to Australia a number of times. It's like, I don't know if you remember, but my daughter was really little and really fat, and you used to call her the Buddha, and put her in a bean bag and kind of look at her and meditate and stuff. And it was just a trip, man. Fantastic memories. And someone else said, thank you for lighting the path, man. And the other people, but it's all about you, buddy. So thank you so much. Namaste. Kostiatu. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Megan McCall, are you in the house?
Yes, hold on one second. Hey, I didn't have my hand up, so I didn't know I was going to get called. Uncle Tom, I love you so much. I was just going through some photos while everyone was sharing, and I found a couple of us together, or you at various places, one in New Mexico, one at the compound, and one of us paddling from a weekend that you had watched me and Finn when my mom and dad were out, a rare getaway together. So I don't know why it struck me so much, thinking when you posted the 50th anniversary first, we're gonna get dog action, sorry. Just the idea that that you had 6 years clean when I was born, and this idea that like all my life you've just been this, spiritual guy that had his life together. And so it's just so interesting to think how much the work that you've done and the time that you've put in, and just the family that you and my dad and various other people that have shared you know, just a family of fellowship. And I really appreciate that. And I think about you and B and Josh and Celeste on the Big Island. And I love the idea that you guys all live over there and get to see each other regularly. Hope to get over there again soon. Love you, love you, love you, and congrats.
Thank you, Megan. Good to see you. Also, I have a note here for Shaylin.
Oh, hello. I am Shaylin. I'm an alcoholic and pretty much happy 50 years, Tom Catton. What the heck, man? So I'm in Bali right now. Probably a lot to do with Tom. Just pulling up to some beautiful sunrise and looking at some waves. Let's get parked here. Yeah, what an adventure. I would walk around the land barefoot and not use soap, and also not wear a shirt because of Uncle Tom. And I just want to say that I'm 32 years sober still today. I got sober in '89. And Tom, you mean a lot to me. You always have. I have a fondness for life today, probably because of a lot of the hydrogen peroxide sprayed in my hair on beach days growing up in Kailua. And I know there's a lot of people on here right now that definitely understand that. You were the joy of the Kailua Beach weekends. You spent a lot of time with us kids and reminded us that life is about enjoying. There's not a lot of big deals, and the ones that are big deals are not big deals. And so I don't know. My mom sent me the link. There's so much stuff, right? There's just so much stuff. Tom McCall, is so good to hear you, and then Megan, my God, and then the Birdman and Celeste. Just you guys are my family, and I feel grateful and blessed that I get to be part of this family, and that I continue to go on about my life, remembering, my history, and I didn't get to know Clover as well as you guys did. She died when I was 6, but she lives on in you guys. So I'm grateful, and I appreciate, just the opportunity to say hello. So hello, happy 50. Here's to 50 more. Cheers.
Thank you. Chris from NorCal.
Hi, my name is Chris and I'm a drug addict. And God, 50 years, Tom, how awesome. I got introduced to Tom when I was in 2000, really. I knew Celeste. I went to school with Celeste and everything when we had the same, year sobriety. And I went to school with her. I went to her and Joe's wedding and all this, but I never really got a connection with Tom until 2014 when I had quadruple bypass surgery. And I had so much fear in my life that I didn't know what, I thought I was going to die on him all the time. you know, and so Tom was holding meditation meetings at his house in Namaste Estates, and also retreats, and having these wonderful speakers, and Gavin Harrison and these, you know, would do retreats there, you know, and taught me how to meditate. You know, that's when I really learned how to meditate. And then, you know, through the process of that meditation, you know, that fear lifted, you know, and I just have so much gratefulness and thankfulness to Tom for having those things available to us. And to me, it's just a miracle that it happened. And even though I'm living in Northern California now, you know, I still, you know, I still meditate on a daily basis. Like I said, you know, I just sit there and listen to, you know, sometimes I listen to the Great Bell Chant, you know, to start me off. And then, you know, and my life has changed incredibly. And in part, it's thanks to Tom for introducing me to meditation. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing. Rico.
Hey family, my name is Rico Amanali, and I am here listening a fantastic story from you guys. I don't have the clean, I have 67 days, but I'm listening to you guys, and this is an incredible journey. This guy has 50 years, he managed to stay clean. Imagine if he relapsed, this story couldn't happen. And I hear everyone in here on fire. I'm glad to hear people saying addicts and alcoholics, because we there's a lot to give, a lot from AA, from the other fellowship. And nowadays people are like, oh no, you can't talk about the other fellowship or whatever. I'm very, very grateful to be listening to, especially his kids. Incredible the way they, you know, their emotion. It's unbelievable. NA is growing exponentially. And this guy is one of the pioneers. I heard this guy in he was talking about Asia and how expanded Asia in Narcotics Anonymous, and he was one of the people that got involved with that. And just to be here and listening to you guys, so 160, 150 people, 135 people in this meeting, fantastic. And I'm still listening, and I'm enjoying every single bit of it. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Rico. Love you. Jeff R. from New York City.
Thanks. I'm Jeff. I'm an addict. Aloha, Tom. Congratulations. I love you guys. McCall. Oh my God. Geez, I haven't seen you in so long. So I got clean in New York in like the mid 80s, and it was kind of a crazy, NA in New York was kind of, it was new and it was crazy, and I was emotionally unstable for a long time. And I had been to Hawaii just on some cloudy business, and I had met the McCalls, and I met Tom, and I hit a point in my life in New York where I just felt like I needed to get out of the city for a while. I needed, and I was in a dead-end job. I had another relationship that went nowhere. So I thought I'd go out to Hawaii to hang out with these guys and like get a program and stay out there 3 months or so. And, you know, then come back and have some structure with which I could continue to live. And so I went out there, and, you know, and I stayed for 7 years. And during that period, yeah, you know, I had the good fortune of being around both McCall and Tom Catton. And, you know, that it was like yin and yang. And I can attest to the fact that Tom McCall does get up in the morning, drink coffee, and sit and stare off into space, like that stare, as if, you know, you could talk to him, he still has that same stare. And Tom Catton has like this whole thing going on. And I've been into the meditation rooms on the Big Island and on Kailua, when you live in Kailua. And I got to say, it's been such an inspiration to me and to my recovery. I mean, you guys were like, you know, you know, I may not have jumped in, dived in head first and bought the whole thing. I'm still like a kind of cynical New Yorker in a lot of ways, but like the whole aura, that Floorberg thing and all that thing, and you know, it was very meaningful to me in ways I don't really acknowledge a lot. When I recently, when I moved back to New York, it was in the mid '90s, and I remember one time I called up McCall because I felt, I was much more connected to McCall's side of the family than Catton's side of the family. It's the same family, it was leading to the same place. So I calling up McCall and I said, I don't like meetings, I don't like this, I don't like that. And so McCall was like, Jeffy Mon, you have to turn your passion, you have to find passion for the program again. I was like, yeah, thanks, Tom, thanks. So I go up to a meeting and I'm sitting like waiting for the meeting to open. There was a garden, it was called the Garden Group. And I was sitting in the back of the church and sitting there waiting for the meeting to start. And these two people, young people kind of sat next to me. And, I heard the conversation. They were talking about Hawaii and this and that. And I said, oh, you guys from Hawaii? I got you, 1 minute. And they go, yeah. I go, oh, I recently moved back to New York from Hawaii. And they were like, oh, where'd you live? I said, I lived on Oahu. I said, oh, we lived on Oahu. I go, oh, I lived in Kailua. I said, oh, we live in Kailua. I said, oh, well, maybe, my sponsor, I just got off the phone with him, Tom McCall. And they were like, their jaws dropped. And they go, Tom McCall, we grew up at Tom McCall's house. I go, well, who are you? He said, we're Floberg's grandkids. And right then I was like, fuck you, Tom. There it was, the ripple effects of it just kind of keeps going out and out. And I think it was Shaylin. I don't know if it was Shaylin. I don't know if he remembers this. I don't know if it was even him, but I guess it was. And the connections just like are there, like it or not, they're there. And so congratulations, Tom. Love you guys. Great to see you and the family. Celeste, Josh, Megan, Larry. Oh my God. So many of you guys.
Thank
Aloha.
you, Jeff. Jeff B. Got to unmute.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff. I'm an addict at a little town called Blacksburg, South Carolina. Congratulations, Tom C. I never met you, but I met Tom McCall 2 years ago. He spoke at ARCNA in Arizona. And he was staying with Billy and Kathy Ryan. And we got to talk a little bit. And it's ironic how God has a sense of humor. I was still in the Marine Corps. I was stationed at Kenneoy Bay. And Tom had said when I talked to him at Billy's that the base commander had asked him and a couple of other guys to come and talk to some Marines that might need his help. I don't remember it. I was pretty messed up, but I'm glad that I got to meet you, Tom, at Billy and Kathy's house. And I just wanted to say congratulations, Tom C., for 50 years. Y'all are my predecessors, teaching us that came after you how to live in a spiritual manner with the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, and to give back. That's all.
Thank you, Jeff. Love you. And we have time, I think, for one more. Drew.
Hi, everybody. My name is Drew. I'm an addict. Just wanted to say happy anniversary, Tom. It's been, I got sober in October 4th of 1977. And Tom and Tom were both there. And I remember I'm second generation sober as well, like Shaylin and the other crews that are coming in. And I remember when I got sober and my mom, Noah, said, oh, the Birds are coming back and they get here this weekend, right? And I was like, there was a level of peacefulness that came with it. And in they flew and took over the Beachcombers, which was certainly meeting in their absence. And I just remember this love that they brought in the room with them and that they carried. And, you know, over the years, and, you know, Doug became my sponsor, and I heard a lot of the, you know, the typical human stories that go with us in this fellowship. And, you know, it's not always as peaceful as it seems at times, but, you know, these guys became a part of my early sobriety, and I always carry them with my heart. And anytime that I share, it's a part of my life. And, the cool part is I still keep in touch with Shaylin and still stay connected with him. And I think that, you know, there's a magic that happens in 12-step programs, regardless of which one you go to. And a part of them is that we get to reconnect like this and experience something that is, for me, overwhelming. So anyways, I'm really grateful, and I'm really grateful to be clean and sober. I'm really grateful that Tom touched my life. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing, Drew. Love you. iPhone Joe. Come on, iPhone Joe.
He needs to unmute. He doesn't know how to do that.
Hello. Can you hear me?
You loud and clear.
Hello. All right, cool. Wow. Well, hello, Tom, down the street. I love you very much. I'm am super excited that you are here on this day. I was from a very religious family, and then never felt totally a part of that. And Celeste, Tom's daughter, came into my life and found me on the beach, and I saw this whole other world that I could perhaps be welcomed into and be a part of. And I was welcomed into it. And that was the NA Fellowship, and Tom C and Tom McCall and Larry and Kyle and all these people. And I'll tell you a story that I got when I knew Josh and I knew the family. And I was, what happened was, in their house, there was a cabinet, and they had a new kitten. And the cabinet somehow got knocked over when nobody was home, and the cat unfortunately got smashed by the cabinet. Now, this is a horrible story, but the point is that I saw them all crying. And what was this about? My family, no emotions were allowed in my family. And here I was in this new family, and they're all crying, and Josh is crying at like 19 years old. What? This is totally foreign to me. And I just laughed at them in my head, and I was like, this is weird. And you know what? Slowly, I began to soften and allow the love in, and not be so scared and like cynical and full of really fear and hatred myself. You know, I was allowed to, they helped change me. And and they became my new family, and they all moved all around us, and we began to live in Tom's house and Bee's house and in here on the Big Island. And, you know, it just incredible. I appreciate him being a part of my 32 years. Shaylin, me, Josh, Celeste, you know, this is, it's been an incredible life. And God damn it, we owe that to Tom and Larry and those people that came before us and showed us a way that, hey, you can still be crazy and live your natural life and be clean. And, you know, have your own ideas and have your own God and all that great stuff that you know about. And thank you, Tom Catton, and thank you, Narcotics Anonymous. Aloha.
Thank you, Joe. Love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
I'm an addict named Joe B. I live here in Virginia. I am a sponsee of Tom's, and I'd just like to share really quick. You know, a lot of the stories I heard earlier from Tom, and how they described what it was like before they got clean. It sounds a lot like the stories I heard like this past week. I had my girlfriend's cousin died of an overdose. We put a guy into treatment this week. You know, they're substituting, they're using drugs that they're given. And we had a meeting where 15 people from a treatment facility came in. And I really like, when I heard your stories earlier, it just reminds me like, this is right now. This is our story right now. I'm a guy with 3 years clean, and I couldn't get clean for 20 years. I didn't understand there was a program inside the program, but I got clean this time, and I heard a guy's story that he went out with nothing in his pockets, and his primary purpose was to carry the message to the addict who still suffered. He trusted and had complete faith in his higher power, and that was his story. And when I heard his story, and I realized what was different in my my time this time, was that I had another guy tell me, don't worry about your job. Don't worry about your girlfriend. Don't worry about this. He goes, just chase recovery. Just worry about staying clean. And what I look back on was I had started to put NA literature in my car, and like everything in my life was like catered to carrying the message. And I heard Tom's story. And then in the height of the COVID, like when it got really bad and we didn't know what it was going to look like, and right when we started doing these Zoom meetings, I asked Tom to be my sponsor. And it's that simple. Tom, I'm forever grateful. And this was a very beautiful meeting. We have like a couple minutes left. Would Jerry like to share?
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm an addict named Jerry. I don't know if I can do this without crying. I want to thank everyone for sharing, especially the family, and there's so many things that are just coming up in the short amount of time that I've known him. Tom, congratulations. And thank you for saying yes. I remember Roseanne S. telling me when she was in early recovery, she used to sit on the front steps of her sponsor's home. And I remember telling her, I really wish I could do that. I wish I lived down the street from Tom and I could just go to his property and just touch it. When those moments where I needed some peace. And I had the opportunity like 5 years ago to come and just spend a week and do step work. That's it. Just do step work. I did go snorkeling one day, and Eddie took me out to dinner one night, but it was pretty much step work. And I just remember being so grateful and like hearing the stories from Roseanne and how meaningful that was. And, here I am. Again, I came all this way just to be on Zoom. But some of the messages from Tom, like I pray every day to have someone interfere in my life. That's popping up today. And, and here I am, and whatever, just receiving his love and the message of just show up, and Celeste meeting my son and him walking me through the autism with him. And this last year, even though we're thousands of miles away, I've never felt closer to Tom than now. He's walked me through everything, and I've had a death experience of last year during COVID, and just how B and Tom and everyone was praying for him anyway. I'm just grateful, and I'm honored really to be sitting here and to be a part of this beautiful story that goes way back before I even got here. So thank you, Tom. Thank you, JoJo, and everybody else for your service. And thank you for the family. I don't know you, but I love you because I love Tom. So thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Love you. All right, everybody. Can we just unmute one time and give Tom a whole lot of love?
All right, Tom.
Tom.
Love you, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Love you, Tom. Love you,
Yes.
Tom. Happy birthday, yo. Big time, Tom.
Sunrise for you, Tom. Congratulations. Wonderful.
Namaste.
Thank you, Tom.
Congratulations from New Jersey. This was a tearjerker movie.
Thank you,
That was a tearjerker, yeah.
Aloha, Papa. We love you.
Okay. We're gonna have another extended.
Congratulations, you are great inspiration to so many.
All right, guys, what is going?
Ha ha ha, happy anniversary. Ha ha ha, happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Ha ha ha, happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. I wish to you happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. This special day, I'm happy with you. Let's celebrate our happy anniversary. Ha ha ha, happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. I wish to you happy anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Okay. I think Mel H hacked into our computer system. Hey, we're gonna take an extended moment of silence to end this meeting. And we're gonna ask Tom to close the meeting out as well. And this is my favorite picture of Tom. Thank you all very much for being here. Tom, would you like to close the meeting? Have to unmute.
Dad, unmute Dad.
He's still meditating.
Okay. Dad, do you see how to unmute?
He's like, I only gave him 10 years. Ground control to Major Tom.
There, unmuted.
There we are.
Okay,
Are you unmuted?
I am now.
Oh, good.
Anyway, everybody, thank you so much. So much love, so much. This is going to carry me for a lifetime. So anyway, third step prayer. Many of us have said, take our will in our lives, guide us in our recovery.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Love you, Tom.
JoJo.
Namaste, everybody. God bless you, one and all.
Roseanne.
Thank you, everybody.
JoJo.
Here with guys my own age.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Paramahansa Yogan Talvina.
Love you, darling.
Namaste, Tom.
Namaste.
Oh, you made it.
I almost want to get on a plane and come to Hawaii now.
Danny.
Hey, another Tom Steve.
Danny.
Tommy boy, Tom Carroll.
Hi, Danny.
Danny.
Hi, Hawaii. Hello, Hawaii.
Danny, we see you. Yo, Joaquin. Love the colors. Love the colors. It's coming along.
Danny.
Happy anniversary, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Love you, B.
Beautiful,
Hi,
Tom.
B.
Thank you very much.
Tom, I've never met B. Hi,
Well, this is
B.
B. That's
Hi,
Rose.
sweetie.
That's Roseanne.
Hi, Roseanne. I know all about Roseanne. She's
Hi,
wonderful.
B. I heard all about
honey.
you.
Hi, honey.
John
Love you, Tom. Love
Hey,
you, B.
Tom. Tom, I feel like I went to the movies today and it was a real tearjerker. I mean it. That's how I feel. I feel I went to a movie and I saw your story and I came home and I told my friends, oh my God, what a tearjerker. Thank you, Tom.
Good to see you,
Thank
Rosie.
you.
Yeah, happy birthday, Tom.
Guys, oh my Tom and B. Mwah.
Ah, look
There
at
they
that.
are. Look what I
Yeah, I
got
love
on.
Look what we got on.
Look what he's got on. Can you
Beautiful.
see it? The new shirt?
No, they can't.
You can't see it?
No,
Mom, I love you.
not your new shirt.
Oh, now, yeah.
That is,
Uh,
ah, Dan.
Yeah.
Ah, very nice.
You're a very handsome man, Tom.
As long as my wife thinks so.
And a beautiful woman, B.
Oh, thank you.
I love
Hi,
you.
guys. Love you so much.
Hi, Nancy. Good to
Hi.
see you.
Love you guys.
see you
Gonna run.
soon.
Bye, Celeste.
Hi, Tom and B. Love you guys.
Hi, Tom and Dee. Thank you. Thank you, JoJo.
Thank you all.
Love you guys.
Bye, Big Island family. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Tom. Bye,
Congratulations.
Celeste. Bye, Josh.
Aloha.
All right. Loving all you guys. We're signing off.
Hi, Tom. Bye, B. Congratulations,
Hi,
Tom.
Bye, B. See you
Aloha.
soon. Love you.
Simone, happy
Aloha,
birthday.
everybody.
Hi,
Happy
Johnny.
birthday, Simone.
honey.
Hey.
Rocking it.
Marry you.
Yeah.
you.
So
Okay.
Hey, Tom.
Hope to see,
Love you,
hope to
Tom.
see you in March, Tom.
Hi, Noel.
Congratulations.
Hi, Noel.
You, honey.
Bye, guys. See you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Hi, John T.
Love you.
Hi,
Where's the map, John?
I was asking for one. I almost couldn't find my way here.
You made it. Hi,
did.
Kimmy.
Kimmy.
Hi, sweetheart.
How
Hi,
are you?
Tommy.
What is this?
So good to see
Hi,
you.
Tom.
This is Bill Lackey. I don't know if you can hear me.
Bill Lackey, did you see the whole thing?
I saw, yes, I did. I heard every word of it and saw 90%.
You're the man. You're the man. Thank you.
Hi, Tommy McCall, too.
Yep, good. Well, you saw the whole thing, so,
Yep, I'm driving and I kept pulling over.
okay. All right, I'm
Marshawn, hi, honey.
I'm retiring.
Bye, Tom.
You're retired.
I'm gonna retire from sitting in this chair.
Hi.
Hi, honey.
Hi, hon. How are you?
Marshawn,
Thank
Marshawn, I
Yeah,
did not know that was Cherie. Where is she now?
she's gone. She's
I had no, I came in and she was sitting there and I just, no, what, the new look, I didn't know
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. She beat me here.
Yeah, she was here in the
Yeah,
room.
she was.
Anyway, you were great, Marshawn. Thanks for coming.
Oh, I wouldn't have missed it.
Huh?
I wouldn't have missed it.
Thank you. I'm signing off now.
I found
Nice
out.
to see you, Marshawn.
Hi, Tom.
Good to see you too. It's so good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Danny
Thank you
Keith.
so much.
Hey.
I just
Hey.
cry a lot.
Didn't know your name was Kim.
Yeah, man.
Oh my God.
Kimberly, hi, Kimberly.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, except
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna
very
go.
sad because I didn't get that this was happening till very late.
Oh, bummer.
So I hope that I get some kind of copy or whatever. I saw that there's something.
They recorded it, so.
Yeah.
Right on. I know it's not the same though.